Hey guys, Anthony here from Rev3 Games with Jeff Rubin from College Humor and the Jeff Rubin podcast. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man, good. We were gonna do top 5 horror games, and then we decided not to. We decided to do.
I'm certain that list exists elsewhere on the
Yeah.
internet. If you remain interested in the top 5 horror games, I suspect if you Google it, it's already out.
We'll
there.
link the 20 most popular Google links for that result.
20 top 5 horror game list is what we should have done.
That's what we should have done. But instead, we were thinking about kind of what is really the scariest genre of games, Jeff Rubin.
Full motion video games, FMV.
It was the darkest point, I think, in video game history, and I don't know if we ever thought we were going to get out of it.
I think when CD-ROMs were first around, and we just had all this space.
Yeah.
Like,
what am I going to do with 600 megabytes?
and they were just like, what's better than graphics? People.
Boom.
And it just seemed, and even now in retrospect, you can understand why they thought this, that it seemed like this was the next leap for video games to make.
I still, when you explain it like that, I feel good about it as a decision.
Yeah, I don't begrudge anyone for this. I see what they were going for, and I appreciate it.
Yes. Starting at number 5 with Night Trap.
Your mission? Protect those girls from whatever happened to the last ones.
You know, Night Trap goes beyond being if it was just a bad video game, there's lots of bad video games.
Sure.
There's tons of bad video games on every console, but Night Trap actually is bad for the video game industry, because it's very controversial. It's very, I don't want to say raunchy or violent, but like, it was, at the time, it was very,
It was basically stop these sorority girls from getting brutally murdered. But it was like, not sorority girls, it was like a slumber party. And it was like,
Yeah.
stop them from getting brutally murdered.
It
and
sounds better, like we're making it sound
Yeah.
more interesting. And it's not particularly violent. Certainly
No.
games today, like, blow it away.
But you can see why, in a time when you're comparing this to Sonic CD,
yeah.
the media maybe jumped on this and was like, whoa, this is terrible.
But I think it's worth noting that not only is this game bad in and of itself, it actually like dragged down the video game industry and like gave video games, even good video games, a bad name.
Yeah.
That's how bad Night Trap is.
Yeah, so basically you sit in a control booth with different video feeds of this slumber party, and the idea is...
This is a common theme of full motion video games,
Yeah.
because you can't actually interact with anyone, so like a common theme is like, you're in another room
Yeah.
watching everything.
When we were looking this up, we came across the term trap 'em up.
Trap 'em up.
Which I didn't even know was a genre, but if you are familiar with it, this kind of popularized the trap 'em up genre, which is terrible things starts to happen to a girl on the video feed. You switch to the feed and trapdoor, poison gas.
Yeah, it's up to you to spring these traps
Yeah.
and be looking at the right room at the right time. Extraordinarily difficult game to play if you actually sit down to play it, which I do not recommend.
Our next one, moving on here, you were talking about B-level celebrities, but there were some A-level music industry people who
Sure.
got together for the Sega CD yet again for Make My Music video.
Make My Music Video. There are 3 Make My Music Video games. I believe there's at least 3. There may be more. Maybe they were planning more. The 3 I know
Yeah.
about, and I can't believe I know about 3 of them. CNC Music Factory, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, and Kid and Play.
Wow.
So this is just another example. I feel like you kind of saw this when Kinect came out, where there's this entirely new thing, and people are like, what do we do with it? How do we make games out of this? And you see probably more bad ideas than good. And this is, again, no one knew how to make a game for full motion video, and the idea is you're making a music video for these bands, and you have 3 cameras of footage to choose from. Some of it's of the band, some of it's just stock footage, some of it's just public domain random.
Yeah, it absolutely makes no sense. It'll be like dancing girls and Kid and Play, and then 1940s factory workers going to the cannery. And you're just like, choose which one you want.
So you have to, I mean, you're just making a music video, but the gameplay, as much as there is any, comes in and like, you are judged at the end on the music video you made. It'll play it back for you. And I think you can also do, I'm using this word very, very loosely, effects on these clips. You can maybe make them monochrome or invert them or like,
it's all
reverse
very,
them. So very, very, very simple. And also, we should be clear, these videos are like sub-YouTube quality. They're like sub-animated GIF quality. They're just like...
I mean, the most they could push at a time on these things was 320 by 240, so to run 4 of these videos at once, I think it was like 15 by 15 at the bottom, like 4 frames a
Yeah.
second, like choose your angle, and you're like, I don't even know what I'm looking at.
So even like if you are into Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch,
Which who is not?
right, like, and you're playing the game for the stuff they recorded for it. You know, even that video, it's just Marky Mark kind of like hovering in the middle of the screen, and he's just like, "What's up?
I want to know.
I'm out like shout."
That's an actual line he says. He says, I'm out like shot. I wonder if you could have ordered a collector's edition of all 3 and what you got with the pre-order if you did back then.
The idea is somewhat sound of like an interactive music video where you make your own music. Obviously, it shouldn't have been on Sega CD, but I wonder if maybe there's a way to execute that idea a little more competently now, where you can make your own footage and like put it online for people to judge instead of what is essentially a Genesis CPU.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something. Maybe there's
I'd
something.
like to see it
interesting there.
revisited. Actually, I would like to
But
see
only
it
with
revisited.
only with Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Do not update the music at all. That was the perfect song to test this concept on.
I am ready to feel the vibrations again. So you're talking about these things that are innovative ideas that they just couldn't pull off. Here's another one that sounds great. FMV, first person fighting.
You! Come and get me if you dare!
Supreme Warrior tried to do this, okay? And
Does
if
that
you-
sound great?
If
Does
you
that
think
sound great?
about it, here is, you're looking at a real actor, somebody who's really trained in martial arts, and it's from the perspective of the person in the fight. Could it?
Have you ever seen that shot in a movie? Like, have you ever seen a shot in a movie where just like leg coming in frame from underneath? Maybe there's a reason, you know?
Maybe, I don't know. And this is kind of, your hands are digitized sprites, which is the 90s things I've ever said
They
in my
ran
life.
through the digitizer? They ran through the, wow.
Yeah, they digitized that. And your hands are up, and as this movie is going on, you know, all these things are just like hit buttons at key points, right? So you're looking for the opening for a punch or a kick in this guy's essentially pre-choreographed fight. He does the same things no matter what you do.
That's the thing about full motion video, is it's just a video. So it's always gonna be the same thing, and the interactivity is limited, so you can't just like hit him whenever you want, because they don't have video of him falling at every potential moment. So there's only very specific moments where you can hit him. And, you know, the technology, I don't even know if it's still there, but like, it took a second. You remember how CD-ROM, we're talking like, this was when they were still measuring the speed of CD-ROM drives, and there was like a 2 times speed ROM. So it takes a second to like find the next clip.
You're
So it's
definitely
not
going to
smooth
want a 4x CD-ROM to play Supreme Warrior. 8x if you can.
You're gonna need a 486 or compatible, and but it takes a second when you hit him. It takes a second to find the footage of him falling. So a fighting game, if nothing else, should be smooth and have a flow, and full motion video does not do that.
This would not work at Evo. There's no frame counting for the attacks. That's not going to happen. Moving forward, they kind of were starting to get the idea that you can't just do full motion video. You have to kind of add a little bit more interactivity to it. And so there were some late in the game experiments that added some functionality. One of them was Sewer Shark.
Sewer Shark. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, a launch title for
It was a
Sega
launch
CD?
title for
Sega
the
CD.
Sega-
Yeah, Sewer Shark had a lot of full motion video. It looked bad. It's great because what's everyone's favorite part of video game? The sewer level.
Yeah.
Everyone loves when you're trapped in the tunnels of the sewers in a video game.
Just give me more sewer levels.
Why not make that? Why not blow that up into an entire game? And that was Sewer Shark. Not a fun game.
No.
But it is a little more interactive than the ones we've talked about thus far.
Yeah, so you start off with that basic level of Dragon's Lair interactivity where it's like turn at the right moment in the right direction. But then they overlaid some sprites of some evil dudes all over the screen, and it turned into like a shooter where you had to aim and shoot at them.
So this is the first game we've talked about, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that takes place like actually in real time, where it's not like a turn-based thing where you're just deciding which video clip to play next.
Yeah.
This sort of resembles an actual video game.
There's some video game elements there. Yeah, they were getting closer to it. Unfortunately, the shooting just worked so terribly. The sprites overlaid on the video looked so weird. Even then, to look at the sprites overlaid on the video looked strange and out of place.
Yeah, it's kind of like, also, even if it looked great, it wouldn't be that fun. Like, it still plays like a first generation arcade shooter, like the Star Wars arcade game, the Vector Star Wars arcade game. That's the gameplay where you're just like moving forward, shooting things. But that game, one,
still works.
Yeah, one, it's cool because it's Star Wars. Two, the vector graphics are neat. And it's always fun, like, you know, going down the Death Star run, going for the exhaust port. So that game, which is like 15 years earlier than Short, it's very similar gameplay, but that game that's 15 years older is significantly more fun.
And that really kind of shows this sort of background thing that I think was going on, where it was just more marketing and executive types that were just like, we have the ability to do video, go do all this video.
That's exactly the problem with full motion video.
They weren't looking at it as like, can we make games with this? It was just like, we can do it, go!
A lot of these games, Sword Shark is a game, which I'm not totally sure I can say about Night Trap. Like, Night Trap really stretches the definition of a video game. It really does.
Our last one is probably, gosh, this may be my favorite one. And this is another one where they were like, no, we're gonna add the gameplay to this and it's gonna be amazing. And it's Mad Dog McCree.
Can you help? Good. One more important thing.
Hey, you codger! Don't tell me!
And they were wrong.
Yeah, Mad Dog McCree, which, as far as I can tell, is the last according to movie theaters, the last arcade game ever made. They still have it.
We wish we could get more for you kids, but this is all that's available. It's Mad Dog McCree.
Mad Dog McCree is a light gun full motion video game. So
it's just the two most gimmicky things of all time in video games.
I like light gun games.
Put together.
I will not. If I see Area 51, I'll put $1 into it so I can play both guns at once. I love light gun games. But again, you have this problem where the game can't really respond to what you're doing. Basically, if you shoot them, it'll play one clip. If you don't shoot them, it'll play another. So it's not very smooth. It's very, in Mad Dog McCree, even though these are real people that have in fluid video and not just 2 frames of animation.
No, full motion video.
The dog has so much more personality than any of these people because they're the worst actors. It's the worst script. They don't really respond or react to what you're doing. So even though it seemed like a giant step forward, because we were using laser discs, it really was a step back, and a temporary one, I guess, when we corrected for. But they're really much worse than the games that came before them.
It's funny because Mad Dog McCree, just like Night Trap, though, is another one where I don't think we'll ever be rid of it. They released the Mad Dog McCree collection for the Wii. Like, it occupies a space in our mind now, and it's part of video game history.
There's little doubt in my mind that they made money on Mad Dog McCree. Like, there's a Mad Dog McCree 2, like, someone got rich off Mad Dog McCree. I don't know if they got rich off Space Pirates and the others, and it's funny because the guy that made the Mad Dog McCree team, believe it or not, Scorsese did not direct that one. It was not exactly top-notch talent.
So would you call Digital Leisure the Scorsese of full motion video games?
Well, it's just interesting that even though the gameplay in Dragon's Lair and Dragon's Lair 2 and Space Ace is bad, they're generally pretty well remembered, and I think it's because the full motion video was probably the most high-quality full motion video ever produced. And also, that was in the arcade, and it was like 10 years early. Like, that was way earlier than Sega CD. So
we had no idea as kids that there was a Laserdisc in there. Like, I just thought it was magic. That's part of the thing that made Dragon's Lair work, is I was 7 years old and I was controlling a cartoon.
I think all arcade games are magic, you know?
That's true. Jeff Rubin, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me. This is so fun.
Obviously, collegehumor.com, the Jeff Rubin podcast, which is awesome.
Thanks so much.
And of course, subscribe for more top 5s and other video game related content. He said, his voice cracking.